Hello, my name is AJ Goldsby. I'm a life master from Pensacola, Florida, and today I wanted to bring you the 7th match game of the World Championship match. I'm continuing my coverage of the World Championship match. Received several emails and people accused me of forgetting about it. It wasn't quite the case. Just other things in life have come along and I've had to take care of those. But I'm continuing my coverage here of the World Championship match, and I wanted to do at least one video on each of the remaining games. So this will be the game 7 of the World Championship match that was played in 2014. Magnus Carlsen is white, and Viswanathan Anand is black. And of course, Magnus Carlsen is from Norway. Viswanathan Anand is from India. But anyway, this is the 7th game. Without any further ado, we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. E4. The first move is E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6, 3 Bishop B5, Knight F6, 4 castles. Of course, this is the Berlin Wall, and apparently last time, Carlsen played D3, but they get into the main line here. Knight takes E4, D4, Knight D6, Bishop takes C6, D takes C6, D takes E5, Knight F5, Queen takes D8, King takes D8. This is the line that was first used in a World Championship level that I can remember in the World Championship match between Gary Kasparov and Vladimir Kramnik. I believe that was in 1990, if I remember correctly. And of course, is a very old line. It's been used many times. It's called the Berlin defense, the old classical Berlin defense, which for many years no one used. But lately now, of course, you can find this line in a lot of the higher rated players' repertoires. A lot of grandmasters like to use this line as black. Very interesting line, kind of controversial. Looks like that white should have a solid advantage, a huge developmental advantage, but the problem is the pawn structure, and there's just no easy way in, and a lot of grandmasters as white have been unsuccessful as white and able to penetrate black's defenses, and thus the name, I think, the Berlin Wall. Anyway, Carlsen plays a line that I like the best. It's H3. That's just sort of keeps your options open and prevents any inroads to the position. Black plays King E8. That's a very useful move. You want to get the king off the D file so that the king is not bothered by rook checks. Knight C3, H5, Bishop F4, Bishop E7, or AD1. Of course, now, most of the time when I finish all my development and my opponent doesn't have hardly anything developed, usually I would consider that a one game. However, again, the queens are off. There's some mitigating factors, and black does have the bishop pair, and also black's pawn wall, especially the double pawns on the queen side, are a formidable obstacle to white's pieces. White's got to, if he's going to win, he's got to try to find a way in. It's not all that easy to do. All these moves, of course, are known by theory. Bishop E6, Knight G5, Rook H6, G3. That's just to prevent any inroads there, to the position. Bishop takes G5, Bishop takes G5, Rook G6, H4. And now F6, pawn takes, Bishop F4, Knight takes H4, F3, Rook D8, King F2, Rook takes D1, Knight takes D1, and now Knight F5, Rook H1. Bishop takes A2, Rook takes H5. All these moves, again, have been played before in several Grandmaster games, and I think all 3 of those ended in a draw. The alternative to Rook H5 is if Bishop B3, Bishop E1, Knight E3, and then Knight takes E3. And again, we're looking at maybe probably opposite colored bishops. A lot of the pawns come off and it's a draw. So Rook takes H5 is really the only way to maintain the pressure. Bishop E6. Now we have a position that's been reached again several times in Grandmaster games, and all of the previous games ended in a draw. Carlsen chooses a move I don't think is really worthy of an exclam. I think the machine likes either Bishop takes D7 or several other tries here. Let me just pull up Fritz here just real quick. Yeah, Bishop takes C7 or Rook H7 is what Fritz seems to favor the most. Anand, he's basically on the defense here, but it's becoming more and more a simplified position. So already I think a draw is highly likely. The move that Carlsen chooses here, I think, allows white to retain a modicum of pressure, G4. Again, the Deep Fritz 14 likes Bishop takes C7. And now we get into some forced moves. Knight to D6, Rook H7, Knight F7, knight e3. White's reorganizing his pieces. Now, if black's not real careful, the white king could swing around, come up to d4, and if this king ever finds a way into black's pawn structure, black would be lost. So he can't play too many waiting moves and wait forever. He has to kind of, make sure that, that never happens, that the white king never gets into the game. King d8. That's just to give the c7 pawn. Obviously, white sooner or later can take that pawn. Knight f5. That has to be played sooner or later. c5. And now knight e3, knight e5, rook h8 check, rook g8. And now comes a very interesting move. Nice little tactic. Bishop takes e5 exclamation point. Of course, the point of this move is if rook takes rook on h8, then bishop takes pawn on f6, forks the king and the rook. And that's going to allow that, white to regain the material. He'll be up a piece because the rook in the corner will be lost. So obviously, rook takes rook is not a possibility here. I had one lower rated player wrote me, thought that that they missed something, but he just wasn't seeing all the threats. But again, if rook takes rook, bishop takes f6 check wins the game for white. So here, black pretty much plays the only move he can. Now f takes e5, rook h5, and now we've reached another critical position, and this is a real interesting position here. And now Anand plays a move. I think it's almost a double exclam. He plays a piece sack. Bishop takes g4, double exclam. F takes g4, rook takes g4, rook takes e5. And now we have an endgame where white's up a piece, basically, for 2 pawns. But all the pawns are on the same side of the board. Extremely difficult for white to win this game. As far as I know, I didn't go through this game with a fine-tooth comb. But as far as I know, white never missed anything major. Now, maybe if he did, then I just simply missed it. I don't think I did, but I'm not going to say absolutely that there's not any improvements in this game for white. And now comes what is one of the longest games. I do not want to analyze it in depth. I'm just going to tell you they play a record number of moves. I doubt there are very many. There's a few World Championship games that go over 100 moves, and I have books on all the World Championships. But I can tell you for a fact that a World Championship game that goes over 100 moves is extremely rare, but that's now exactly what we get. I'm not even going to bother to try to analyze these things. The rest of the moves, I'm just going to show you what happened here. You can see they move back and forth. White's trying to make progress, and he never really is able to do that. And eventually what happens is the pawns get traded, and eventually you'll see here the pawns get traded. And again, if you want to go to the Chess Games website, I'll provide a link for that game. You can actually replay this game if you're interested in playing all these moves, and eventually the game does become, drawn. Once white's trying to win here, but he doesn't have any shelter for his king and really can't make progress. Black defends very accurately, and finally, after they danced around for 100, I think it was like 122 moves, finally a draw was agreed. The rooks were exchanged, and a draw was agreed there. But that was basically the end of the game there. And, at 122, knight takes c1, a draw was agreed. I wanted to keep this video relatively short. I know it was a lot happening in that game. I mean, you can say I kind of glazed over the last part of the game, and I did. But, to be honest, I don't think white really ever had any real winning chances. Once that sacrifice happened and that unique endgame came up with the 4 pawns versus 2, white's extra piece was really not all that useful. I mean, with close, accurate defense, for once Anand defended the position very precisely, very accurately. Carlsen had every reason in the world to put all the pressure and to play the game out, because obviously the burden of proof was on Anand. I mean, he had to prove that he could draw this game, and I think Carlsen did a magnificent job of trying to win this game, but it was just going to be a draw. It was almost a perfectly played game by both sides. That pretty much concludes my video for this game. Again, I'll provide a link to the ChessBase story of this round. You can download the annotated game from the ChessBase website. I'll also provide a link to the Chess Games website, so if you want to replay this game, go over it more slowly, you can at your own pace. But I don't think anything major was missed in this game. That concludes my coverage. If you enjoy my coverages of and my videos and web pages on all the chess that I do, not just the World Championship match, but all the chess that I do, please feel free to go to the PayPal website. That's www.paypal.com, and make a contribution under my email address, which is lifemasteraj@yahoo.com. And again, I thank you for watching the video. I kept it short on purpose. I wanted to keep it under 10 minutes. I apologize to the purists that think maybe I glazed over the last part of this game, but to be honest, I didn't want it to be a 30-minute